So I was taking care of cows and assisting him as a pujari. But then, very soon, was it just weeks or a couple months at the most? Very soon after that, Soma Prabhu decided to get married. Haribo. By the arrangement of Radha Vrindavanath, he decided to get married. So he had to move down. So then the president, Param Brahma Prabhu, said that now we need a pujari. So you can be in charge of the cows and be the pujari. So that's how I became a pujari, because Soma Prabhu got married. So I owe all my pujari experience to Soma's getting married. And then, a couple weeks later, Gargarishi Prabhu, the cook, got married. So I was told that you're in charge of the cows, you're also in charge of the pujari work, and now you should do all the cooking because everyone's gotten married. So then I was in charge of all three. I didn't know how to cook. So one devotee just came up to the farm, Sudanu Prabhu, and he cooked all 6 offerings. One day he came up and I just took notes of everything he did, and then he left, and then I had to cook all 6 offerings on the basis of what I learned by watching him one day. But then gradually other cooks, I think Krishnamurti, Hankar, Mangalananda Prabhus, and Chandramauli Maharaj came toward the end. So Soma Prabhu and I really deeply love him. Let us welcome Soma Prabhu. And somewhere in this ocean, it looks like an ocean, and each devotee is like a wave in that ocean. Somewhere in this sea of Vaishnavas is Sukavaha Prabhu and Nartaki Prabhu. But we will welcome them when they are more visible. Are you here? Let us welcome them with great enthusiasm to the Pune Yatra, please. And now we would like to first ask if there is a schedule that we should follow. Does anyone know what the schedule is? Is prasad before or after Gaur Arti? Huh? After Gaur Arti is prasad? Okay. When is Gaur Arti? So we'd like to ask Maharaj, Mahamuni Prabhu and Soma Prabhu to speak a few words to encourage all the Vaishnavas at this time. Thank you very much.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Desatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I wasn't thinking I would be speaking tonight, so this is all spontaneous. Hopefully it will be pleasing to the devotees. This is, I think I've lost count. I've been to many Pune Yatras, and each one is, for me, a very powerful experience of what Maharaj was talking about tonight. Vaishnava association, glorifying the Lord by chanting the holy names of the Lord, serving the Vaishnavas in that association, and just developing relationships with devotees, taking Krishna Prasadam, and just diving deeply into the essence of Krishna consciousness. So I'm very happy to be here. In fact, I was looking forward to this particular one because for about a month now I've been away from direct Krishna conscious activities, doing some activities trying to help my health a little so I can continue with my service. So for me this is like a really opportunity to really again enter deeply into the process of Krishna consciousness. When Maharaj was speaking, I was thinking what to say, and every time I thought of something to say, he said it. And then I would think of something else, and then he said it, and then after a while I gave up. So, but one thing that, of course, Maharaj did hit on, which was really the essential principle, was to cultivate that mood of humble submission and service to the Vaishnava. And in the cultivation, we have to understand one thing that is there, and that is we still may have tendencies towards material activities or to material desires, or just a little bit awkward in our activities of how to serve Vaishnavas, how to reciprocate in a loving way with Vaishnavas. So these tendencies coming from the material side will push us to act in the same way. But we should be careful not to act upon these tendencies and be very much in the mood of cultivating that mood. Because, as Maharaj was saying, it's a conscious cultivation of Krishna consciousness in applying the principles in the very moment-to-moment, day-to-day activities of our service to the Lord and devotees. And it's not artificial to cultivate these things, because the nature of the soul is the pure qualities of the soul. Humility, which is the natural position of the soul's relationship to the Supreme. And therefore, to cultivate that quality and associate with devotees in the process of serving means to bring out that quality that is there, which is natural. It's not artificial. Sometimes people think that we should, of course this is not a popular thought anymore, but in some areas it is. People think we should act the way we feel, because it's artificial to do something other than how you feel. But our feelings are also, and our characteristics and personalities have developed in association with matter. So this is our conditioned nature. So to act on those things means to act contrary to our spiritual nature. So in that mood of trying to become the humble servant of the Vaishnavas and to develop loving relationships with the Vaishnavas, we also have to be very careful not to allow these material tendencies to jump there and in there, because they will. They will, because they're still part of our always conditioned nature. So we have to practice this mood. And as Maharaj emphasized, using scriptural points, that there are 6 loving exchanges: to give prasadam and to receive prasadam. Srila Prabhupada, in the early days of the movement, he would get questions that were very simple and sometimes very naive. One question was asked, some devotees like to eat prasadam and some devotees like to serve prasadam. So which is better? And that was the question that was posed to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said they're the same. They're the same. Why? Because the principle is exchange of Krishna. Krishna is being given in the form of prasadam and Krishna is being received in the form of prasadam. So the focus is on prasadam seva. So both are absolute because the medium is the exchange of our relationship with each other based on the principle of prasadam being Krishna. To open one's mind confidentially and to hear confidential thoughts, Srila Rupa Goswami gives one essential principle. He says that also means to speak about the glories of the Lord, because the topics of the Lord actually are confidential. So when we remind each other of Krishna by speaking pastimes or speaking philosophical principles related to Krishna consciousness, then we're actually exchanging in a loving way with another Vaishnava. It is also like giving a gift. We're giving the gift of Krishna in the form of Krishna Katha. We're receiving the gift of Krishna and by hearing Krishna Katha. So these 6 loving exchanges are the essence of Vaishnava association. And this Pune Yatra is, from what I can understand from my previous experiences, that this is a very powerful way to concentrate on these 6 loving exchanges. So we're all fortunate to be able to be here and to be able to dive deeply into this Krishna consciousness, because as the scriptures mention, hearing and chanting the glories in the Lord in the association with Vaishnavas is the essence of bhakti. It's mentioned by the acharyas. In fact, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, practically in answering all questions related to Krishna consciousness, always comes back to this point that to hear Krishna Katha, to speak Krishna Katha, to remember Krishna is the essence of Krishna consciousness. So please, as Maharaj gave the consideration, those things that will take away from the opportunity to dive deeply, we should very carefully avoid. And that is prajalpa, or just things that are unnecessary. Just like, every day I have to answer emails because I get emails and there's people I have to respond to. So I'm thinking now for these 4 days, I'm not going to turn my computer on. Not at all. And I even told Mahamuni if he sees me near my computer, he should chastise me. Because I want to focus on what this whole Pune Yatra is about. This chanting, dancing, associating with devotees, developing more friendly relationships, strengthening those relations that are already there, and developing new relationships with other Vaishnavas. And as we do that, not only do we feel happy, but we also feel very much protected from the material energy. We feel safe in the association of devotees, in this mood of hearing and chanting and associating with devotees. So please, and just to repeat, the essence of Maharaj's presentation is take this very seriously and take it as an opportunity to really, really taste the happiness that is there. Kevalananda Kanda, the sweetness, the happiness of Bhakti Yoga by hearing and chanting in association with devotees and developing that mood of service to the Vaishnavas. And I want to thank, I was just thinking the other day, it was about 2 days before the Yatra, I was thinking, this is so wonderful. How many, people around the world are doing such projects like this. They're coming together for 4 days, just focusing on this. It's a very rare thing, but it's the essence. So in my heart, I was appreciating the fact that this is going on, and the devotees that are working so hard to make this project or this satsang possible. They're sacrificing. Many of them are sacrificing the opportunity to take part in all the activities, so that we can all, experience the essence of Krishna consciousness. So I want to thank Maharaj from the bottom of my heart for inspiring the devotees to surrender and to put on this wonderful festival, and to continue to inspire us in that proper mood of how to associate with devotees and to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. And as Maharaj said, it just looks like a big ocean of devotees out here. As I'm looking, I'm seeing, it's just like, it's such a wonderful scene. You should sit up here and just look out. The devotees look so effulgent. And it's just pleasing to be here and to see all the wonderful devotees come together in this mood. So thank you very much. And please dive deeply into this 3.5 days of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
I'm very grateful to be here amongst all of you. In the last couple months, I feel very fortunate to be absorbed into your association during the marathon, and you allowed me to participate with you and associate with you, attend different functions. And I felt such nice kindness and loving exchange from all of you, and I feel very humbled that that I can sit up here and be invited. I especially want to thank Krishna Chandra Prabhu and his wonderful wife for allowing me to come into their house every year for 4 or 5 years, maybe even more. I've been wanting to come here every year, and something happens and I can't come at the last minute. Someone asked me this morning, are you going to Pune Yatra? I said, that's my plan, but I'm not there yet, so we'll wait and we'll see what happens. Because each year somehow Krishna puts some obstacle and I'm not able to come. But I wanted to appreciate Krishna Chandra Prabhu. I went to an annual day function at the Bhaktivedanta Hospital, and he's a very important man in the hospital. He's a busy businessman. He's got so many. And he leans over when the devotees are talking and he translates for me. He apologizes. He said, Hindi is not my first language, and he translated for me the whole time. He didn't have to, but I was thinking, this person is a devotee first, and then he is all those other things that go behind his name. And I was very happy to have this association. I was thinking how he has developed. I never knew him before. I've met him at a couple of different occasions. One time I went to his house. I took one of Sridhar Maharaj's disciples there because they were on the marriage board, and I was trying to help Sridhar Maharaj get some of his disciples married. But he's always been very kind to me, and I just wanted to thank him very much and his wife for letting me come here. I was thinking, on the way here, I was talking to Soma Prabhu, we were talking about Kumbh Mela. And I was pointing out how mystical it is that you go to this place and the water's all up on the bank, and in a couple of days it's very dry, and a whole city comes up. A whole city's there. They put plumbing in, they put toilets, they put tents come up, and then they make these buildings out of bamboo and paper, cloth. And they look like buildings. Some of them look like stones. They look like castles. As you walk up, I'm amazed at the way they look. And this amazing facade that's created in just days. And I was thinking, here in India, they are very expert at making. You can go to a wedding. You go to these weddings sometime. It looks like these palaces. They make out of cloth and bamboo. And you walk in, the lights are there, they have chandeliers. Even here in this tent, we have chandeliers. And I was thinking, but it's all a facade. It looks like a palace, but it's a facade. It's not real. And in just a few days, even if there's a big storm, I was at one festival one time, a big windstorm came, and the whole thing lifted up and started falling down. And another time I was in Vrindavan, there was a function, they had these nice things, and it caught on fire and started burning like anything. And I was thinking, just in a moment, these things can fall down. And Maharaj was talking about, you walk to someone's house and you don't say to them, oh, you have a wonderful foundation here. But if it falls down, you criticize, what a cheap foundation, you must have had some poor builder here. But then I began to think, as he was speaking about, sometimes in Krishna consciousness, we like to look really good on the outside. We wrap our chadars very nicely and we put our tilak on very nicely. But inside, we're kind of shaking and weak. And sometimes we're afraid to engage in the 6 exchanges of love, to reveal our mind and tell that maybe we're not as advanced as we present ourselves. Sometimes we present ourselves as very advanced. And there's a certain facade there. When in our room alone at night, we know our weakness. We know, that Krishna knows we're not what they think we are, you see. And sometimes we kind of help them think that we're something that we're not by our presentation. And I was thinking how wonderful it is to come to a place like this with all these wonderful devotees and all this opportunity to do what you did at Radha Gopinath Mandir. That mandir is 120 years old. The foundation was kind of rotting. The building, the floors, everything, the whole building had to be reinforced. Had to go down and restructure the foundation, restructure the flooring, rebuild it. But it was built by the loving exchanges of the devotees, and not by the carpenters, and not by the bricklayers, and not by the stonemasons. It was built by the enthusiasm to have loving exchanges that rebuilt Radha Gopinath Temple, from Tinkerbell High School and whatever else it happened to be, to this place where devotees can come and have these exchanges. It was about the devotees coming together and re-bricking and reconstructing their own life. And I was thinking how rare it is to come to a place like this. So if we have any chinks in our armor or any weak spots in our foundation, we can come here and remove the old brick or chip out some old mortar and strengthen our japa and strengthen our determination to serve Krishna and to hear from Vaishnavas who have a lot of experience and just engage in chanting and dancing and rebuild our own spiritual life and get our foundation strong so that when we leave here, that hopefully at the end on Sunday that we don't burst into the Prajapa like Maharaj said, that we can let it out slowly, like when you let the air out of a balloon, it makes a zzz, a little bit like that. We can let it out slowly. Maybe over the weeks we can, if we really have to talk Prajapa, we can let it out. Because our foundation will be stronger. We'll want to talk about Krishna. We'll want to hear about Krishna. And as Maharaj was speaking, the more he spoke, the more I thought about this idea that, we can look good on the outside. We can create all of these images. And even sometimes we see, anyway, I won't go there. But we see in our own lives that we have to reassess ourselves each day. It's actually, you could do it each hour. With me, I can do it every minute. Oh God, I did it again. Oh God, I did it again. I forgot Krishna. I forgot Krishna. So each day we can go and do a moral inventory of ourselves and a spiritual inventory of ourselves. And maybe at the end of the night, write. Prabhupada encouraged that we write each day, that you write some of your realizations so that you can structure the foundation. If it might, most of you, I don't know, you may all have firm foundations and very sound and going on. I don't know. As I look out here, I think, wow, they're all pure devotees. But, you know, in my own life, when I look in the mirror, I know that there's places that I can, you know, put a little more holy name, or put a little more humility, or put a little more, you know, these building blocks of Krishna consciousness, like Maharaj was talking about. And I think this is a great opportunity to come and re-secure our foundation and whatever it needs. And if you have a great foundation, then maybe make it a little broader so that you can build higher and higher in your spiritual life. That Bhakti Lata Bija, you know, it talks about how that it goes all the way to the spiritual world, to the lotus feet of Krishna. So maybe we need to make our foundation a little bigger, and so we can go higher and higher with our Bhakti Lata. So I want to thank you again for allowing me to come here, and I'm hoping that I can restructure my foundation and be able to associate with you, maybe if you're a good stonemason. That's why I always like to be with Soma Prabhu, because he's expert builder, he's expert, he can build anything. And every time I see him, I become very happy. And he has all the things I don't have, spiritually and materially. And I think, wow, what a wonderful opportunity. You know, it's opposites attract. You know, I have nothing, he has everything, I'll go over there, you know, and we'll get a good solid foundation. So when you find devotees that you're very happy with, and you're happy to see them, and you're happy to be around them, then seek out that association and take shelter and firm up your foundation, so that when the wind blows, that the facade doesn't fall over, that, you know, we're for real and we're solid, because this is a temple of the Lord, and we can build it, you know, in loving exchanges. You know, so I want to thank Maharaj for helping me to come here, and I'll stop now, and maybe we can hear from Soma Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you again.